No one knew where she came from. One day, the dusty sunlit road of Yuba town was clear, and the next, a slender, sharp-eyed woman strode in dragging a black box and wearing the kind of red lipstick that didn't belong in a place like this. They called her Linda. She didn't talk much, but she smiled often, too often. That kind of smile that made men follow her with their eyes and made their wives whisper prayers. She rented a small room beside Madame Ketchy's tailoring shop, the same room that had been locked for years after the last tenant went mad. Nobody asked questions. In a town like Yuba, you mind your business unless the matter finds you. And somehow, Linda found everyone, especially the men. The kiki drivers. The welders. Even Samson the church drummer. It started subtly, a wave here, a soft greeting there. Then late-night shadows were seen creeping toward her back window, night after night. Emmanuel was one of them. A mechanic with too much strength and too little sense, he thought he was the smartest. He thought Linda liked him. She let him believe it. He would fix her faulty fan, help carry her water, and in return, she would let him lie on her bed after the door was bolted and the curtain pulled. But something was off. One evening, Emmanuel went looking for his old leather bag. Not the one he carried to work, the other one, his secret stash bag where he kept small cash, chewing gum, and used condoms he didn't want his younger brother to find. Odd. Yes. But in his words, you no fit trust house people with anything again. Only this time, the cash was there. The chewing gum was still there. But the condoms, gone. He checked again. Maybe he had thrown them out. Maybe a rat dragged them away. But no. The bag was clean. Too clean. Like someone had reached in carefully and only taken what they came for. He didn't say anything. At least, not that day. But a seed had been planted. One that would soon expose something darker than anything Yuba town had ever seen. The next morning, Emmanuel couldn't sit still. He poured engine oil into a carburetor and missed. He greeted Mama Ifioma twice like he forgot the first one. When his apprentice Uche asked if he should test the battery, Emmanuel fled. Go test your sense first before battery, he snapped. But inside, the guy they reason things. Who enter my room? Not only me they lock that door. Even if say I forget I'm open, waiting person won't carry use condom do. His boys, Ton the electrician, Oz the Okada rider, and Kelvin from the POS stand, all day around when he finally vexed talk the matter. Guy, I know one like give una, something done miss from my bag. They looked up. Money. Ton asked. Condom. Silence. Then Oz burst laugh like man we jam pikin joke. Used or unused? Used. Laughter stop. Emmanuel's face was straight. Them carry all. Even the one I wrap inside black nylon. But my 5K still did the bag. That's when Kelvin scratched his head. Wait oh. That's not strange. Me way they always throw mine under my bed, I just noticed say the last 3 vanish. I think no rat. Which rat they use rubber day walker? Emmanuel said. The boys looked at one another. Something day off. 3 of them realized the same thing, them all done visit Linda recently. Omo, tension rise like generator with them just start. Una no go believe, Oz said low. Last week, I see Linda for evening. She dey carry small bucket go backside near the old poultry. I think say not to bath. But the way she dey look around before she walk enter bush path in. The air went cold. Just then, small girl gift, the one way they sell puff puff, run past them shout, Linda don't go stream again this morning oh. This time she carry big black bag. Without talking, the men exchanged looks. Oz dropped his screwdriver. Make we follow her. They didn't know what they would see. But deep down, each man had a funny feeling. Linda no be ordinary girl. And whatever she dey collect, she dey keep for something big. The boys didn't waste time. By the time Gift's voice faded down the dusty street, Emmanuel, Kelvin, and Oz had already grabbed their slippers and headed out. No planning. No forming. Just raw suspicion driving their feet. They followed at a distance, careful not to be noticed. Linda had a black shoulder bag on one arm and a white scarf tied tightly around her waist. She wasn't walking fast, but there was purpose in her steps, as if she was late for something no one else was supposed to know about. She turned into the bush path behind Mom Nkechi's tailoring shop, the same path people in the town had long forgotten even existed. "This girl they go where?" Kelvin whispered, already regretting his steps. They ducked behind a pile of wood. Linda paused, looking left, then right, before bending beside an abandoned well overgrown with weed and wildflowers. Then they saw it. She untied her bag, brought out a waterproof nylon, and began pulling out items. One by one. Small transparent Ziploc bags. Dozens of them. Each one had something inside. The boy squinted. It was condoms. Used ones. Sealed carefully. Marked with names. Some with nicknames. Some with full names and even phone numbers. Osa's hand went to his mouth. "Oh my God," he whispered. She de-labeled them. Before anyone could react, Linda poured the whole nylon into a large plastic container, sealed it, and whispered something into the air. Then she knelt and began to speak in a language none of them understood. That's when the wind rose. A sudden gust blew from nowhere, whistling through the bush like a warning. Emmanuel's breath caught in his throat. He had seen enough. They didn't wait to see what came next. The boys turned and ran, silently, carefully, back the way they came. Back to town. But one thing was clear. This wasn't just about stolen condoms. Linda was doing something. And if the names on those packets were anything to go by, half the men in Yuba were in serious danger. By the next morning, everything had changed, but no one said a word yet. Emmanuel didn't go to his workshop. Os was too shaken to start his bike. Kelvin sat at the front of his POS store, staring into space like he saw his own obituary. They had all seen the same thing, and their names were there. Written clearly in red marker on small transparent bags. Dated. Tagged. Recorded like evidence. But what did she need them for? What kind of woman collects used condoms like trophies? And why perform rituals at an abandoned well? Kelvin couldn't hold it anymore. He grabbed his phone and called his cousin, who used to live in Osogbo. That cousin, Jide, had once dated a girl who nearly did the same thing, except hers was for love rituals. Jide lost his mind for 3 months. After listening, Jide's voice on the phone dropped cold. Run. If her juju priest is legit, she's either binding destinies or trading you people for power. 100 men means big sacrifice. Kelvin froze. 100. He remembered what he saw in Linda's bag. There were too many packets to count. Maybe 50. Maybe more. He rushed out, looking for Emmanuel. But Emmanuel was already waiting outside his gate. Sweat on his forehead, lips dry, eyes red. Bro. My name the top of the list. She echoed it. Everything changed from that moment. They didn't just feel violated, they felt owned. It wasn't just a scandal. It was spiritual warfare. And something told them they were already late. By afternoon, the rumors had started to crawl, slow and sticky like spilled honey. A teenage girl at the salon claimed she heard someone say Linda was doing something unclean behind her room. A dry cleaner swore he saw 3 grown men running out of the bush path like they'd seen a ghost. But the real drama started at Mama Blessing's food joint. That's where Yuba Town's gossip headquarters lived. And that's where Chibuzo, the town's softest spoken civil servant, did something no one expected. He fainted. Right there between a plate of egusi and a bottle of Fanta, Chibuzo stood up, started muttering, "It's me. She got me too," and collapsed like a dropped sack of rice. Panic scattered like pepper in the wind. Mama Blessing screamed. Plates flew. Someone poured water on his face. When Chibuzo finally opened his eyes, the first thing he whispered was, "I gave her 4 rounds, and I used rubber every time. She asked me to keep them. She said she liked being clean. Silence fell. Not even the flies moved. People looked at one another. It was no longer just gist. It was real. And if a quiet man like Chibuzo, church-going, neat, reserved, was involved, then who else? That's when Madame Ronk, the outspoken hairdresser, stood up and hissed. "I been dey talk since. That girl no dey sweep compound. No dey greet anybody. Too fine for her own good. Now see." Within the hour, someone called for a community meeting. Men started sweating in their shirts. Wives started watching their husbands closely. Some even started searching their homes for hidden bags. And somewhere in her quiet room, Linda sat on her bed, calmly painting her nails blood red, as if nothing was happening. As if she already knew what was coming. By evening, the town square was already full. Not because of any announcement, but because of one single word that spread like wildfire from compound to compound. Linda. Some said she was a witch. Others swore she was just a bronze girl with madness in her blood. But one thing united everyone: they wanted to know what was in that bag. Emmanuel and Kelvin had it. They brought it in slowly, like they were carrying a bomb. The black waterproof bag, tied at the top, looked ordinary until they opened it. Gasps filled the air. Inside were nearly 70 small transparent packets. Each one carefully sealed. Each one with a name. A date. Some with phone numbers. Others with shameful nicknames like Mr. 3 Minutes or Big Chest Brother. One of the elders stepped forward. "What is this?" he asked. But before anyone could answer, Linda herself appeared. She didn't run. She didn't cry. She walked into the square with the calmness of a cat who knows it's not the one being hunted. She looked around. Her red scarf tied perfectly, her slippers clean, her voice soft when she spoke. "You people have entered what you don't understand." Boom. That sentence dropped like thunder. Women started shouting. Men stepped back. One man, the tailor, grabbed his hat like it would jump out. "Explain yourself," the elder backed. Linda took a breath, then reached into her own bag and pulled out a small clay bowl. Inside it was ash, red sand, and something that looked like melted wax. "I don't need to explain anything," she said. "But if I don't return these items by the full moon, all the men in this town whose names are in that bag will start to disappear, one by one." Screams followed. People ran. One man tried to slap her but missed, his hand froze midair like something held it back. "And Linda?" She smiled. "You think I'm the problem? Wait till you meet the one I've been feeding." Nobody slept that night. Not even the town drunk. Every creak in the wood, every goat bleating in the distance, made hearts race. The women clung to their husbands. The men turned off their phones. And the bag, Linda's bag, was locked inside the community hall, guarded by 2 young men with shaky hands and cutlasses. But by morning, one man didn't show up. Kola the bike man. He had joked the loudest when Linda made her threat. He even spat on the ground and said, "Let her try me." Nonsense girl. Now, he was gone. Not just missing. Gone. His kiki was still parked outside his compound. His phone was still charging in his room. His slippers, muddy from the previous night, were still by the door. But no Kola. His mother screamed until she fainted. His girlfriend ran to the police post, but the officer just rubbed his eyes and said, "Make we wait till evening." He fit go bush. By 5 p.m., they called a town meeting. Again. This time, there was no noise. Just silence, and Linda's absence. She was nowhere to be found. Some said they saw her walking toward the stream. Others swore they heard her humming outside the church fence around 2 a.m. But no one had the courage to follow her. Not after what she said. Not after Kola disappeared. The elders now panicked. "What kind of spirit are we dealing with?" one asked, bit of sweat running down his gray hair. And how many men did she collect from? Emmanuel stepped forward, face pale. I saw at least 70 packets. She's looking for 100. Dead silence. The entire town turned cold. Because it meant she wasn't done. Linda was still counting. And no one knew who was next. Cola's disappearance shook the town, but it was the silence afterward that truly unsettled everyone. No word. No ransom. Nobody. Just nothing. And that's when fear started turning into madness. One man, Mr. Namdi, the local chemist and former soldier, decided he'd had enough. Known for his loud mouth and iron temper, he grabbed a bottle of kerosene and marched to the community hall with fire in his eyes. You people are all fools, he shouted at the elders. You're watching a girl destroy our town. Burn that nonsense and let her spirit follow it. The youth guarding the hall tried to stop him, but Namdi pushed past them. He poured kerosene over the black bag and everything inside it, the labeled condoms, the clay bowl, even Linda's mysterious white wrapper that had been found outside the stream. Then he lit the match. Flames burst. The plastic melted. Smoke caught. People gasped. But just as the fire grew higher, a scream echoed from inside the hall. Not from Namdi. From the bag. A sharp, twisted cry, inhuman and terrifying, rose out of the burning pile like something trapped in the fire was trying to escape. The elders ran. The youths dropped their cutlasses. Even Namdi staggered back, clutching his chest. The fire died instantly. Like someone slapped it out of the air. And when they looked back at the bag, it was gone. No ashes. No smoke. No trace. Just the floor, clean and cold. Namdi collapsed on the spot. He didn't die. But his tongue twisted sideways. He couldn't speak. Couldn't swallow. Couldn't even blink properly. The town rushed him to the herbalist, but even the old man said, "This is not sickness. This is punishment." Later that night, someone wrote in chalk on the community hall wall, "The next one will not faint. He will vanish like the last." Nobody knew who wrote it. But everybody knew whose hand it was. The next few days felt like funeral air. The laughter in Yuba town died. The beer parlor stayed closed. The church had prayer vigils every night. Mothers wouldn't let their sons go out after 6 p.m. And men. They started running from any woman that smiled too long. But Linda was still gone. Some said she had disappeared into the forest. Others believed she'd returned to wherever she came from. But what most people didn't know was, Linda hadn't gone far. She was watching. From the abandoned poultry, hidden deep behind the stream, she stayed silent. Speaking only when necessary. Chanting softly every midnight. Because Linda wasn't doing this for herself anymore. She was feeding someone. His name wasn't one people could pronounce. But he came to her in a dream, tall, faceless, with a voice like wet thunder. He had promised her power. Money. Control. Fear. But the price was 100 evidences of manhood, used, collected, sealed, and sacrificed. And she was close. Very close. She had 97. Only 3 more. But there was a rule, the last 3 must be high-value men. Men with respect. Men with power. Men whose fall would shake the land. And so, her eyes turned toward 3 targets. Chief Darlington, the rich palm wine merchant. Pastor Felix, the married evangelist who secretly visited her once. Honorable Ifani, the town's only politician and current counselor. 3 men. 3 final steps. Once collected, the power would be complete. And Linda. She would no longer need to hide. She would become what the voice in the dream promised her, a gatekeeper between this world and the next. A woman above shame, death, or law. Back in town, the elders debated calling the police. But before they could act, another message appeared, this time nailed to the church door. 3 left. The harvest ends on the blood moon. choose whether to confess or disappear. Honorable Ifani sat in his compound like a man untouched. While the rest of the town whispered, prayed, and panicked, he puffed his cigar and adjusted his gold wristwatch. "That small girl can't touch me," he told his driver. "I've survived bigger storms." He was the kind of man who believed nothing could shake him, not juju, not scandal, not even God's own thunder. After all, he'd bought elections, silenced opponents, and covered up affairs before. What was one village girl compared to that? But what Honorable Ifani didn't know was this: he wasn't dealing with a human storm. Linda was already watching him. In fact, she had been watching him long before the scandal broke, long before Kola vanished, long before the community hall fire. He was target number 98. And she wanted him broken. That evening, Honorable received a call from an unknown number. The voice on the other end was female. Soft. Familiar. "Come to the empty house behind the primary school. Alone. One last time." His hand shook. Because he did recognize the voice. It was Linda. The girl he had once met at a hotel in Owerri under a different name. She wasn't just a stranger, she had history with him. Secrets. Instead of fear, he felt rage. "This girl wants to blackmail me," he hissed. She picked the wrong man. He called two of his boys, street guys he used for dirty work. Told them to follow behind and wait outside the compound. His plan was simple: confront her, collect any evidence, then disappear her if necessary. By 9 p.m., he arrived. The house was dead quiet. A single candle flickered inside. He stepped in. And the door slammed shut behind him. The air turned heavy. His guard outside suddenly forgot why they were there. One began laughing uncontrollably. The other stripped off his shirt and lay flat on the ground, whispering, she's here," over and over. Inside, Honorable Ifani saw her. Linda. Standing before a small altar, dressed in white. Calm. Smiling. She said only 5 words. "I already collected from you." Then the candle blew out. And that was the last time anyone saw Honorable Ifani. In the morning, his car was still parked. His phone still in the seat. But the man was gone. 98. 2 more to go. By now, nobody trusted anyone in Yuba town. Wives were locking up their husbands at night. Market women were refusing to greet men. And the few remaining bachelors were either sleeping inside church halls or hiding in their mother's palace. But the most terrified of all, Pastor Felix. He was number 99. And he knew it. Because 2 months ago, before any of this madness began, he had gone to Linda's room during a revival break. He told himself it was counseling. That she needed deliverance. That she was spiritually troubled. But the truth was darker. Linda had been the one to call him Daddy in the Lord, but she had looked him in the eye and said, even anointed oil can drip where it shouldn't. And it did. Now, Pastor Felix was fasting aggressively. He locked himself inside the church with his assistant and prayed for 12 hours straight. But each time he closed his eyes, he saw the same thing. Linda. Wearing white. Holding a bottle filled with dark liquid, and a Ziploc bag with his name on it. He tried calling the state pastor for help. Tried calling the deliver. He walked to the abandoned poultry. And knocked. Once. Twice. Linda opened the door. She didn't look surprised. Didn't ask questions. Just sat cross-legged on the ground, eyes glowing in the candlelight. "You're early," she said. "I came to beg," he whispered. "I have family. A name. Please, spare me." She smiled. "I won't take your life, Pastor. But I must take something." That's when he felt it. A sudden burning in his stomach. A twisting in his chest. His voice cracked. His knees gave way. And when he crawled out of that poultry at dawn, shirt torn, sweating and babbling nonsense, everyone knew. The pastor had gone mad. He roamed the street barefoot, shouting Bible verses backwards. By noon, he had to be tied with cloth to stop him from swallowing sand. That was 99. One more left. And it was the biggest catch yet. The town was breaking. People now whispered Linda's name like it was a curse. Market stalls closed early. Men walked with heads down. And those who once laughed now muttered prayers at every junction. But one name was still missing from the list. Chief Darlington. The palm wine merchant. Widely respected. Wealthy. A man with 5 wives and 3 houses. He had laughed at the entire scandal, sipping his chilled beer and boasting. Any woman wey try me go collect. I know they fear village drama. But deep down, he was shaking. He had slept with Linda too. Twice. And just like the rest, he had left his used protection inside her bin. He remembered even teasing her about how clean her room was. Now, every time he closed his eyes, he dreamed of that same bin, filled with hands reaching out, grabbing his throat. He decided to leave town quietly. Told his wives he was traveling to Asaba for business. Packed 2 bags. Told his driver to wait by 5 a.m. But Linda was already ahead. At 3:23 a.m., Chief Darlington's compound dog started howling. At 3:35 a.m., the gate opened on its own. By 4 a.m., the driver ran into the street shouting, "Oga don't vanish. Oga don't vanish oh." People rushed there. His bags were still packed. Slippers still by the door. A hot kettle still whistling on the stove. But the chief, gone. And outside his gate, written in palm wine on the ground, were the words, "The 100th has been sealed." That was the final straw. The elders gathered immediately. The youths held sticks. The women called their prayer leaders. Even the mad pastor started shouting. "She has opened the gate. Blood moon is coming." They needed someone. Someone untouched by Linda. Someone pure. And in the quiet, trembling voice of old Mama Neka, the oldest woman in Yuba, the name was whispered. Her younger sister. Amanda. Linda's forgotten blood. The one person who knew the girl before the rituals began. And the only one who might still reach what was left of her. Not many people in Yuba remembered Amanda. Quiet. Reserved. She had left the village for school 3 years ago and never returned until now. She arrived that afternoon, wearing a faded denim jacket, her hair in braids, face covered in light dust from the bus ride. But her eyes, they carried something heavy. A kind of sadness that made even the boldest elders pause. "I heard about Linda," she said softly. "I came as soon as I could." The town gathered around her at Mama Nkechi's compound. Children sat on steps. Mothers held rosaries. The elders stood with folded arms. Amanda didn't flinch. "I know what she's doing. But it didn't start here." She told them everything. About their childhood in Ogheli. How Linda had always been different, fascinated by dark stories, obsessed with mirrors, always sneaking into their grandfather's shrine. After their parents died, Linda became angry. Lost. She started visiting a woman in the forest, the woman Amanda had never seen, only heard about. They called her Ego Ishi, the head taker, Amanda whispered. She said Linda once came home with a necklace made of cowries and bone. Amanda threw it in the fire. Linda didn't talk to her for 2 years after that. Then one day, Linda vanished. And now she was here. Killing slowly. Feeding something. Amanda stood up. "Let me find her. Let me talk to her. If there's any part of my sister left, I'll find it." One elder protested. "That girl is no longer human. She'll destroy you." But Amanda only smiled. "Then let her try." She borrowed a torchlight, tied her laces tight, and asked one question. "Where's the old poetry?" They pointed. And as she walked alone into the dark, all they could do was pray. Because what was coming wasn't just a confrontation. It was judgment. Amanda didn't shake as she approached the old poultry. The wooden planks creaked. The air smelled like death and candle wax. And behind the broken wall, a faint humming danced with the wind, soft, cold, and bone deep. She stepped through the half-open door, flashlight in one hand, a small Bible in her back pocket. There she was. Linda. Seated before a clay altar with 100 sealed Ziploc bags placed in a perfect spiral. Candles surrounded her. A red chalk circle covered the floor. Her hair flowed wild, and her eyes, they were no longer fully human. One shimmered gold. The other, black as charcoal. Amanda's breath caught. "Linda," she said gently. No reply. Just humming. "It's me. Amanda. Your sister." Linda smiled, but it wasn't warm. It was sharp, crooked, and tired. "Why did you come?" she whispered. "To stop you. You can't. The sacrifice is complete. I only have to feed them tonight. And then I become what they said I could be, feared. Worshipped. Untouchable." Amanda stepped closer. The chalk beneath her feet cracked. "And then what? You become powerful in a town that hates you. Rule over a graveyard. Is that what you want, Linda?" Linda's hands trembled. "I was invisible before. Always second. Always ignored. I gave them what they wanted, and they gave me trash in return. Now, I hold all their sins in bags. And they fear me." Amanda's eyes welled. "You don't need their fear. You need healing." Linda's smile faded. For a moment, just a second, her face looked like the girl Amanda used to braid hair with on hot afternoons. The girl who once cried when their pet goat died. The sister who used to sing in the rain. Then the wind rose. Candles blew wide. The clay altar cracked down the middle. A voice deeper than any man's thundered through the walls. "Choose. Blood or fire." Amanda took one step into the chalk circle. And hugged her sister. Tight. Fierce. No words. Just silence. Linda screamed. The lights exploded. The altar burst. The Ziploc bags vanished, blown to ash. And then, silence again. When the smoke cleared, only Amanda was left, crouched on the ground, sobbing. Linda was gone. But the voice was not. One more soul is required. And that's when Amanda realized. It wasn't over yet. The news spread like wildfire. Linda is gone. Some rejoiced. Others cried. Many stayed silent, unsure what to believe. But one thing was certain, no one saw Linda again after that night. Amanda returned from the poultry house alone. Her hair singed. Her clothes torn. Her eyes heavy. As if she had seen beyond life. They brought her water. Mom Nkechi fed her rice. The pastor's wife tried to pray. But Amanda didn't speak for hours. She just sat under the mango tree behind the church, staring at the soil. At sundown, the town bell rang once. Then twice. Then a third time. And suddenly, every candle in the church compound blew out. Amanda looked up. A shadow stood at the far end of the road. Tall. Faceless. Wrapped in a black cloak that shimmered like oil in the moonlight. She stood. Walked calmly across the compound. And faced it. "You asked for one more soul," she said. "Take mine." The shadow didn't move. But behind Amanda, the elders gathered. The mothers. The boys. Even the men who once betrayed Linda stood in shame. One by one, they stepped forward. "Take mine instead," Emmanuel said. "Take me," whispered Kelvin. Then Pastor Felix, still trembling from madness, crawled forward. "Let the judgment be mine." And then, something strange happened. The wind stopped. The earth stilled. And the shadow laughed. Not loud. Not cruel. Just soft, almost like relief. Then it vanished. Gone. No fire. No smoke. Just stillness. Amanda collapsed. When she woke up 3 days later, the town was quiet again. No disappearances. No whispers. Just peace. The bag. Gone. The 100 names. Erased. But a new sign stood at the edge of Yuba Town, painted in bold red letters. Let those who take what is not theirs, remember what fear tastes like. Linda was never seen again. But on stormy nights, some say they still hear humming near the old pottery. And Amanda. She left quietly, never to return. But in every street corner, every bar, and every women's meeting, her name remains. Not as the girl who stopped the curse, but the one who proved that blood doesn't always run evil.